You have spent your entire life asking for protection, pleading for God to keep invisible enemies away. And yet you continue to feel that strange weight on your shoulders, that sensation that someone, somewhere, is rooting against you. What if I told you that you are only 10 seconds away from seeing, with a clarity you have never had before, the exact face of the one who wishes you harm? I'm not talking about magic. I'm not talking about cheap superstition. I'm talking about something much deeper, much more real, much more terrifying. Because what you are about to discover in the next few minutes will turn your life upside down. You do not attract what you ask for. You do not receive what you beg for. You materialize, day after day, hour after hour, exactly what you feel you already are. And until you understand this, the face of your greatest enemy will remain hidden, because it is closer than you imagine, closer than you can bear to admit. Take a deep breath now. Exhale slowly, because this revelation is not for just anyone. It is for those who are tired of praying and seeing no answer, tired of performing rituals, tired of fulfilling vows, tired of hearing that they need to have more faith while the electric bill is due. The marriage is crumbling, the child is drifting away, and the heart tightens every time the phone rings with bad news. You are not here by chance. You were led to these words because your consciousness deep down already knew there was something wrong with the way you had been trying to manifest your life. And today, finally, you will understand what no one had the courage to teach you. The law of assumption is not a pretty theory to put on a motivational quote. It is the mechanism by which the entire universe responds to you. Neville Goddard, nearly a century ago, said a phrase that shook the foundations of modern spirituality. He said that man becomes what he assumes he is, not what he wishes to be, not what he asks to be, what he assumes in silence, in the darkness of his own mind, as a truth already consummated. And when you assume scarcity, scarcity appears. When you assume betrayal, betrayal appears. When you assume illness, illness appears. The I am that lives within you is the greatest decree that exists, and every time you say, even in thought, I am poor, I am sick, I am abandoned, I am rejected, you are signing with the blood of your own consciousness a contract with what you fear most. And the universe, a faithful servant of your inner word, rushes to deliver exactly that, thinking it is obeying you. And now comes the part that hurts. This face you want to see, this enemy you swear exists out there, this someone you think is working against you, casting the evil eye, sabotaging your prosperity, invading your dreams. This face is not outside. It has never been outside. It is inside. And when the mirror of the fourth dimension opens before you, in a moment, you will recognize features you know very well, because the greatest adversary of your manifestation has always been your own inner dialogue. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. Something happened the exact moment you clicked on this video, and perhaps you have not realized it yet, but something inside you stirred, something ancient, forgotten, whispered that the time has finally come. Do you feel this discomfort in your chest, this urge to cry for no reason, this pressure that there is something greater watching you, waiting for you to react? This is not weakness. This is your state of consciousness, trying to break free from an ancient prison. The digital book, Como Saber Se Deus Vai Te Salvar no Juízo Final, was written precisely for souls who are on this threshold at this exact moment of awakening. It reveals what priests do not preach, what pastors do not teach, what self-help books do not touch, because it is too painful for the average ego to bear. The link is right there, pinned to the top of the comments, and also in the description of this video. Thousands of Brazilian brothers have already opened these chapters and reported that after the third page, they began to cry without knowing why. And the following week, situations that had been stuck for years began to resolve themselves. Do not ignore this call. This content may be taken down at any moment because there is a force that does not want you to discover these truths. Grab the link now, secure yours, and then come back here. Comment the word Amen below as a decree of acceptance, sealing that you are ready to receive everything that has always been yours by divine right. Comment, seal it, and stay with me, because what comes next will show you that face with a sharpness that will keep you awake. Have you ever stopped to realize that your material life is a three-dimensional photograph of a negative, that was developed in the fourth dimension? Everything you experience in the physical world, the bills that arrive, the arguments that repeat, the job that suffocates, the relationship that grows cold, is just the delayed echo of a conversation that happened inside you. Feeling is the secret. It is not the phrase repeated in front of the mirror. It is not the lit candle. It is not the forced vibration of a fake smile. It is the feeling. The authentic, deep feeling. The one you carry when you go to sleep. The one that accompanies you in the shower. The one that appears when you are stuck in traffic staring at nothing. This feeling is the magnet. And here is the common error that completely nullifies your manifestation. The error that no one tells you about, because if they did, the entire spirituality industry would fall to its knees. Most people try to manifest from a feeling of lack. They say they want money, but they feel despair. They say they want love, but they feel loneliness and resentment. They say they want healing, but they identify deeply with the diagnosis, with the pain, with the victim. And the universe, which is a neutral mirror, returns exactly the dominant feeling, not the words, the feeling. That is why that neighbor, who seems not to care about anything spiritual, conquers everything she touches, while you, who pray every day, who fast, who pay tithes, who join prayer chains, remain the same. It is not divine injustice. It is law. It is physics. It is the same law that makes an apple fall from the tree only applied to the field of consciousness. The human heart, according to studies by the HeartMath Institute, generates an electromagnetic field thousands of times more powerful than the brain. And this field propagates several meters around your body, literally altering the structure of space-time around you. When you feel with conviction that you are already what you desire, your heart's field reorganizes reality to confirm that frequency. Now think with me. How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night with a tight chest, remembering debts, anticipating the worst, mentally rehearsing difficult conversations with your boss, husband, wife, child, mother? Each of those nights was a session of subconscious programming in the opposite direction. You were, without knowing it, writing the script for the next day. And when the day arrived, and everything went wrong as you feared, you said it was bad luck, that it was spiritual attack, that it was someone's envy. It wasn't, it was you. It was the bridge of incidents that your own mind built during the night, linking your internal state of consciousness to the external events that would manifest. Every thought, every feeling, every scene imagined before sleep is a brick of that bridge. And the universe, obedient, crosses that bridge and delivers to your door, in the form of circumstances, exactly what you rehearsed. That is why Neville Goddard taught that the most sacred state of the day is the state between awake and asleep, that delicious moment when the body is already heavy, but the mind is still conscious. This is the portal. This is the womb of the fourth dimension. And what you put inside this womb will be born in the world. If you fall asleep feeling gratitude for healing, the healing comes. If you fall asleep feeling the embrace of a loved one, the reunion comes. If you fall asleep feeling the lightness of someone who has all their bills paid, prosperity comes. But, and this is the cruel point, if you fall asleep worried, angry, resentful, fearful, that is what will sprout in the coming days. You are the gardener, and the subconscious is the soil. It does not choose the seed. It only makes grow what you have planted. Now pay attention, because the face is about to appear. Go to a mirror. It doesn't have to be now, it can be later, but go. Look deep into your own eyes and ask, in silence, without judgment, who is it that has been speaking ill of me inside my head? Who is it that repeats every day that I don't deserve it? Who is it that whispers that I will fail, that I am not beautiful enough, that I am not smart enough, that I am not loved enough? That is the face. That is the enemy. And from the moment you recognize this face, it loses its power, because you cannot defeat an enemy you do not see, but the instant you see it, it becomes your servant. The tormentor turns into a soldier. The executioner turns into a sentry. Everything that existed to destroy you, when illuminated by consciousness, begins to exist to serve you. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. Because I know that at this exact moment, while you hear these words, something ancient is being dissolved inside your chest. Perhaps a memory is surfacing. Perhaps the name of a person, perhaps a childhood scene, perhaps a broken promise. This is not narrative coincidence. This is your subconscious reacting to the frequency that is being transmitted now. And it is exactly in these moments that the soul needs a written, palpable guide that can be revisited in sleepless nights, on empty Sundays, in moments when the phone stays silent. Como saber se Deus vai te salvar no juízo final is not just another book. It is an awakening manual for those who have understood that the final judgment is not a collective future event. It is an intimate judgment that happens every night, inside you, when you decide which version of your life will sleep with you. The link is pinned to the top of the comments and also in the description. Grab it now. Do this for yourself. Do this for your family. Do this for the lineage that came before you and the one that will come after. Because when one soul awakens, 7 generations are healed, 3 past and 4 future. You are not doing this only for yourself. You are being chosen as the one who will break the cycle. Do not delay. Grab the link, comment Amen down here, and follow along with me, because the most revealing part is coming. Let's talk now about persistence, because this is where 95% of people give up, exactly 3 steps before the miracle. The law of assumption requires one thing that few have the courage to offer: fidelity to the feeling, even when the facts scream the opposite. And the facts will scream. The facts always scream. You will begin to assume the state of one who is already prosperous, and the next day the bill will arrive higher than you expected. You will begin to assume the state of one who is already healed, and the body will give a twinge just to test you. You will begin to assume the state of one who is already loved, and the silence on the other side will seem deeper than ever. This is not failure. This is the last breath of the old state trying to pull you back into the old reality. It is like a snake shedding its skin, and the old skin bites before it falls off. Persistence in the feeling is the highest spiritual act a human being can perform. Because to persist, in this context, does not mean repeating phrases mechanically. It means inhabiting with your entire emotional body the state of the wish fulfilled, even when the external world continues to show the old photo. Imagine that you have already received the test result, and you are clean. Imagine that you have already signed the contract of your dreams. Imagine that that rebellious child has already hugged you and asked for forgiveness. Imagine that that money is already in your account. And now, with this living image, walk around the house, wash the dishes, drive in traffic, eat your rice and beans, feeling that this is already true. This is the work. This is the secret. It is not easy, but it is simple, and it is the only way. Joseph Murphy wrote that the subconscious is like a fertile field that accepts any seed without questioning, and he added something that changed the lives of millions. He said that the most powerful prayer is not the prayer of petition, it is the prayer of acceptance. When you pray asking, you are affirming, even without realizing it, that you do not yet have it, and the subconscious captures this affirmation of absence and multiplies it. But when you pray thanking for what has not yet arrived in the physical plane, you are affirming that it is already yours in the dimension of consciousness. And the subconscious, this faithful servant, begins to move invisible mountains to deliver to the material plane what you have already assumed as real. That is why the Bible says, and few have understood the depth of this phrase, that whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. The verb is in the past tense. You will receive because you have already received in consciousness. The material plane only catches up to what consciousness has already consummated. And the inner dialogue. The inner dialogue is the key that no one looks at. You have on average 60,000 thoughts per day, 60,000 seeds being planted in your subconscious. And most of these seeds are bitter repetitions, mental complaints, destructive comparisons, painful memories that you relive as if it were the first time. Every time you recall a betrayal, you are betraying yourself again. Every time you relive a rejection, you are rejecting yourself again. Every time you reenact a humiliation, you are planting in the fertile field of your subconscious one more harvest of future humiliation. That is why the ancient sage said, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it proceed the issues of life." It was not poetry. It was technical instruction. Nighttime reprogramming is the most powerful tool that exists to reverse this cycle. The last 5 minutes before you fall asleep are worth more than 5 hours of daytime meditation, because in that moment, the portal of the fourth dimension is wide open, and everything that enters there becomes destiny. So starting today, you will make a pact. You will no longer give these 5 minutes to the news, to social media, to the argument with your partner, to the worry about the bill. You will give these 5 minutes to yourself. You will close your eyes, you will breathe deeply, and you will build in your imagination a short, vivid, sensory scene in which your desire has already been realized. You will feel the texture, the smell, the sound, the temperature. You will feel, above all, the gratitude of one who has already received, and you will sleep in this state. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, you will return to this scene. And in the morning, before opening your eyes, you will recover this scene. Repeat this for 7 nights, only 7. And tell me later what happened to your life. There is a woman named Eliane from Pernambuco who wrote to me saying she was about to lose her house because her husband had been fired during the pandemic, and the overdue installments were accumulating in such a way that the bank had already scheduled the auction. She spent years praying, asking, making vows. Nothing happened until she learned about the law of assumption and began practicing nighttime reprogramming. Every night before sleeping, she imagined her husband arriving home with a job offer, and she herself cooking a pasta dish to celebrate. She smelled the sauce, heard the children's laughter, felt his tight hug. 15 nights. Only 15 nights. On the 16th day, her husband's phone rang. It was an ex-colleague offering a position at another company with a salary higher than the previous one, and she that very night cooked the pasta exactly as she had imagined. Coincidence? It does not exist. What exists is the bridge of incidents that she built, night after night, crossing the abyss between the world she lived in and the world she wanted to live in. And you who are there listening to me now, perhaps you are going through something similar. Perhaps it is a bill that doesn't add up. Perhaps it is a love that has grown cold. Perhaps it is a child who got lost in drugs. Perhaps it is a diagnosis that knocked the ground out from under you. I want you to know with all the spiritual authority that this moment confers upon me that none of this is greater than the power of your consciousness when it is aligned with the I Am. You are at this exact second the reflection of what you have assumed in the last few months, and you can be in a few months the reflection of what you decide to assume in the coming weeks. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. It will always be yours. God is not punishing you. God is not testing you. God is waiting with infinite patience for you to wake up to the fact that you are His expression here on earth, and that the I Am that pulses in you is the same I Am that created the worlds. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, because I know that these words need a home. They need to live near you, on your phone, on your nightstand, in your heart. The book, Como Saber Se Deus Vai Te Salvar no Juízo Final, is the exact complement to the journey you began by clicking on this video. It deepens every concept we are touching on here, with practical exercises, prayers of assumption, nighttime reprogramming techniques specific to Brazilians, and the most impactful stories of brothers and sisters who climbed out of rock bottom using exactly these laws. The link is at the top of the comments and in the description. I need you to understand that this material will not be available forever. There is a spiritual window for every awakening, and when this window closes, it takes time to reopen. Do not let this moment pass. Comment the word Amen down here, as a seal, as a decree, as an energetic signature that you are saying yes to the call. Now let's go down to an even deeper layer of this truth, because I know part of you still resists. Part of you still whispers, but what about when I already tried and it didn't work? What about when I already visualized and nothing happened? What about when I spent months trying to feel and the universe ignored me? I will answer you with an honesty that hurts. You were not ignored. You were exactly answered. Only that what you felt, deep in your chest, was not what you said you wanted. You said you wanted the love of a person, but you felt the fear of being rejected by them. The universe delivered the fear. You said you wanted the job of your dreams, but you felt you weren't qualified enough. The universe delivered the disqualification. You said you wanted healing, but you felt the terror of dying. The universe delivered the terror. There was no failure. There was surgical exactness. And this exactness is the most liberating news you can receive today, because it means the system works. It means that when you adjust the frequency of the feeling, the delivery adjusts at the same speed. There is a technique that Neville called revision, and that few Brazilians know in depth. It is the art of rewriting the day before sleeping, not as a childish fantasy, but as a deliberate act of creation. You take that moment of the day when something hurt you, some remark, some look, some disappointment, and you rewrite in your imagination how that should have happened. Feel the ideal scene. Live it as if it were the true one, and deliver this new version to the subconscious. What happens from there is pure alchemy. The subconscious, which does not distinguish vivid imagination from real experience, begins to treat the revised version as memory, and from this new memory, it organizes the next events of your life. The people involved begin to act differently. The situations begin to shed their old patterns. You are literally rewriting your history from the end. Think about one thing. Most Brazilians live in a chronic state of negative revisiting. You sit down to have a coffee and revisit that fight from 10 years ago. You drive to work and revisit the betrayal of your ex. You lie down to sleep and revisit your father's funeral. Each revisiting is a reverse planting. You are planting with emotional fertilizer more occurrences of that type in your timeline. And you still wonder why your life doesn't change. Your life is changing all the time. Only it is changing in the direction you are feeding. When you swap bitter revisiting for conscious revision, the entire timeline begins to reorganize. It is like pulling a thread at the end of a piece of fabric. The entire fabric comes undone and remakes itself in a new pattern. And here enters a concept that will shock you. Time, as you know it, is an illusion of the third dimension. In the fourth dimension, all moments coexist. Your birth, your first kiss, your death, your greatest achievement, your greatest pain, all are happening simultaneously in an eternal now. And your consciousness is like a reader who traverses this infinite library, choosing which book to open. When you assume a state, you are not creating something from scratch. You are tuning your consciousness into a reality that already exists. There is a version of you prosperous. There is a version of you healed. There is a version of you loved and celebrated. All these versions exist now at this very instant in parallel. Your task is not to build them. Your task is to tune into them. And tuning is done through feeling, always through feeling. This explains why people who apparently did nothing to deserve it receive great blessings, while people who try twice as hard remain stagnant. It is not merit. It is not simple karma. It is tuning. Some people, by temperament or emotional education, naturally vibrate in the state of abundance. They wake up thinking everything will work out, sleep confident, go through the day light, and what they touch flourishes. Others, due to accumulated trauma, the culture of scarcity, the fear inherited from parents and grandparents, vibrate chronically in the state of lack. They wake up worried, sleep anxious, go through the day heavy, and what they touch withers. The good news is that tuning can be changed. It is not genetics, it is not destiny, it is training. And you are starting this training now, at this very second, by allowing yourself to hear these words without defending yourself. There is an exercise called SATS, an acronym for state akin to sleep. Neville Goddard used this term to describe that state of half-consciousness you are in before falling into deep sleep. When you reach this state, and within it build a short scene that implies the realization of your desire, and repeat this scene a few times mentally until you feel it as already happened, you are literally inserting a direct command into the subconscious. Think of a simple scene. If your desire is prosperity, imagine someone hugging you and saying, "Congratulations, you finally made it." If your desire is love, imagine holding the hand of your loved one and hearing them say, "I choose you today and always." If your desire is healing, imagine the doctor looking at the test and saying, "There is nothing left. You are clean." Short scenes, powerful implications. Feel it as truth. And sleep. This exercise, done for 42 nights in a row according to ancient reports, is capable of reorganizing circumstances that seemed absolutely irreversible. 42 nights, a little over 6 weeks. I am not asking you to dedicate your entire life. I am asking for 6 weeks of fidelity to your own future, and yet I know part of you will try to boycott it. You will forget. You will say you are not tired enough. You will prefer to scroll through the phone feed. You will choose to argue with your partner before sleeping. You will watch a heavy series that will dirty your mind. And the next morning, you will complain that life doesn't change. Life changes exactly for those who choose every night to sleep in the state of the new life. There is a phrase in the book of Ecclesiastes attributed to Solomon that hurts because it is so precise. He said that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to plant and a time to reap. But what no one told you, and what the translation lost over the centuries, is that this time is not chronological. It is psychological. The time to plant is the time of the assumed feeling. The time to reap is the time of physical manifestation. And between the two there is an interval that can last days, weeks, or months, depending on the density of the old circumstance and the fidelity of your new feeling. In this interval, most people give up. And by giving up, they plant a new seed of doubt that cancels the previous seed. The cycle starts over from scratch, and the person spends their entire life planting and canceling, without ever reaching the harvest. Today I want to give you the key that will prevent you from continuing in this cycle. It is a simple key, but it is everything. The key is called joyful indifference. You need, after planting, to act like someone who has already received, but without anxiety, without checking the result every hour, without asking the mirror if it has arrived yet, without staring at the phone waiting for the message. Joyful indifference is the internal posture of someone who is so certain of the delivery that they are already thinking about other things. You call the pizzeria and order a pizza. You don't stand at the window watching the delivery bike arrive. You sit on the couch, talk to the family, open a social network, do something else, and when the doorbell rings, you go to receive it. With the universe, it is the same. You made the request through the assumed feeling. Now go about your life with the lightness of one who knows the delivery is on its way. When you incorporate this posture, something extraordinary happens. The delivery accelerates, because anxiety is the frequency of lack. And while you vibrate in lack, the universe understands that the time has not yet come. But when you vibrate in joyful confidence, the universe understands that the state has already been assumed and releases the manifestation. It is counterintuitive, I know. It goes against everything your rational mind believes. But this is exactly how the system works. Those who despair delay. Those who trust advance. Those who thank for what has not yet come accelerate its arrival. Those who complain about what is slow push it further away. I will give you a very Brazilian example. Think of that moment when you are waiting for an important answer, a test result, a job offer, a message from someone, and you keep looking at the phone every 5 minutes with that anxiety that tightens your stomach. The more you look, the longer it takes. And you know this, but you can't stop, because the ego loves to feed on this anxiety. Now think of that moment when you completely forgot about something, and when you remembered it was already resolved. The news had already arrived. The opportunity had already happened. This is not coincidence. This is the law operating. When you forget, you release. When you cling, you block. The most powerful prayer is not the one where you ask with force. It is the one where you thank with conviction, and then let go. Let go like someone letting go of a kite in the wind, knowing it will come back higher. Let go like someone launching a ship into the sea, trusting that the current will take it exactly where it needs to go. Let go like someone letting go of a grown child by the hand, knowing they will go far. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is trusting. Letting go is the highest form of faith, and faith in the true biblical sense is not believing that something will happen. It is knowing, with every fiber of your being, that it has already happened in the dimension that matters. I need you to understand one thing, and perhaps this is the hardest part to assimilate, but it is also the most liberating. There is no out there. Everything that seems to be out there is a projection of your in here. The people who hurt you are characters called by your consciousness to enact a drama that you need to resolve internally. The unfair bosses, the cold partners, the rebellious children, the critical parents, All are actors in a play that you direct without knowing. And when you change the internal script, all the actors change their performance. Some disappear, others transform, and new characters enter the scene more aligned with the updated version of your story. This explains why some people change cities, change jobs, change relationships, and in a short time recreate exactly the same problems in another setting. Because they changed the external landscape, but kept the internal script intact. The subconscious, faithful to its old program, recruits new characters to enact the same drama. And they conclude, frustrated, that the problem is the world. It is not the world. The world is just the stage. The play comes from within. Change the play and the stage reconfigures itself. Change the internal characters, the thoughts you nurture, the beliefs you sustain, the feelings you rehearse, and the external cast reorganizes spontaneously to reflect the new story. Here arrives the point where many Brazilians stumble: guilt. The religious culture we inherited in large part planted in us the idea that we are unworthy sinners, that we need to suffer to deserve, that happiness here is suspicious, that material abundance is sinful, that the path of the righteous is that of constant sacrifice. And this programming, recorded since childhood, sabotages every attempt at conscious manifestation. Because until you feel deserving, deep in your chest, nothing you attract will be able to stay. It will arrive and escape. It will enter through the front door and leave through the window. You will get the money and lose it in a bad decision. You will get the love and sabotage it with jealousy or coldness. You will get the health and waste it with excesses, all because, deep down, the subconscious thinks you don't deserve it. The healing of this internal saboteur involves a silent, sacred conversation that you need to have with yourself. Look at the child you were, the one who heard they weren't good enough, the one who was compared to a sibling, the one who was hit for some mistake, the one who was humiliated at school, and say to them, you are worthy, you always were. There is nothing you need to do to deserve it. You deserve it by the simple fact of existing, by the simple fact of being a unique expression of divine consciousness on this planet. And until you say this, in words, in silence, in tears, as many times as necessary, the wounded part will continue to boycott all your attempts to live in fullness. True reprogramming is not mental. It is emotional. It is at the level of feeling that transformation happens. You can read 1,000 books, listen to 1,000 audios, write down 1,000 affirmations. But if your dominant feeling continues to be that of unworthiness, no technique will work in a lasting way. On the other hand, the moment the feeling changes, even if the theory is limited, reality begins to respond in a cascade. That is why simple people, without any spiritual study, manifest more than doctors of metaphysics. Because they feel with purity, they trust with innocence, they thank with their whole heart. And the universe responds to this purity with total generosity. There is an ancient concept, present in various traditions, that speaks of the law of mirroring. Everything that comes your way is a reflection of what you emanate. Each person who crosses your path is showing you some aspect of yourself. Those you admire reflect qualities that you also have but perhaps have not yet recognized. Those who bother you reflect shadows of yours that need to be integrated. Those who hurt you reflect wounds of yours that need to be healed. There is no victim in this system, there is a protagonist always. And you have always had, always have, and always will have the power to change the story. The instant you assume this responsibility, the entire victimhood collapses, and upon it rises a sovereign, free, creative consciousness. Imagine what would happen to your life if, starting today, you assumed this sovereignty. If faced with every problem, instead of asking, who did this to me, you asked, what within me resonates with this situation? What internal state have I been sustaining for this to appear in my field? And from this honest answer, you adjusted the state, changed the feeling, rewrote the story internally, with the certainty that the external would follow the new programming. This is not magic. It is spiritual engineering. It is the practical application of laws that have always existed, but to which few have had access. And you are having access now for a reason. There is a reason. You know there is. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. Because from this point in the journey, you need something concrete. You need pages you can mark, rereading you can do on a Sunday afternoon, exercises you can practice before sleeping, testimonials you can revisit when doubt strikes. Como saber se Deus vai te salvar no juízo final is the bedside companion that will remind you on every difficult night that your judgment is made by the consciousness you inhabit, not by the acts you perform. It is a book that reorganizes everything you learned about God, about judgment, about salvation, and returns to you an understanding so luminous that it will seem like you woke up from a collective nightmare. The link is pinned to the top of the comments and in the description. I cannot guarantee how long it will be available because there have been pressures to remove this content from circulation. Grab it now while there is still time, and comment Amen, sealing this commitment with your own soul. And as you walk toward the end of this journey with me, I want to give you the boldest truth of all, the one that perhaps no master has had the courage to tell you clearly. You are God experiencing being you. Not in the egoic sense, not in the blasphemous sense, but in the deepest mystical sense. The unique consciousness of the universe, that which we call God, fragmented into countless points of perception, and one of these points is you. When you say I am and complete this phrase with anything, you are using the same creative power that said, "Let there be light," and light was made. There is no ontological difference. There is only a difference of scale and consciousness. Jesus, the man who understood this most in Western history, said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." He said, "You are God's." He said, "The works that I do, you will do, and greater." It was not rhetoric. It was technical instruction. But institutions over the centuries softened, distorted, transformed the radical invitation into passive devotion. And the common human being got used to asking the external Father for what was always available in the internal Father. Today, your final judgment is not tomorrow. It is not after death. It is not on some scheduled date. Your final judgment is every night, when you decide which version of your life will sleep with you. And it is every morning, when you choose which state of consciousness you will inhabit. You are judged, second, by what you assume internally. And the verdict is delivered day after day in the form of material circumstances. Those who understand this transform judgment into power. Those who do not understand live eternally under the shadow of a sentence they imposed upon themselves. Salvation is not something you earn. It is something you recognize. You were never lost in the eyes of the source. You just forgot who you are. And the journey of human consciousness is precisely the path back to this recognition. Each experience, each pain, each joy, each loss, each achievement is a mirror placed on your path to show you one more facet of your divine identity. When you stop identifying with the ego, with the character, with the personal story, and begin to identify with the consciousness that observes all of this, you are saved. Not in the future. Now salvation is a present event which happens every time you remember that you are light-dressed in matter, temporarily. And that is why this video needed to reach you today. Because you are exactly at the point in the journey where this remembrance becomes possible. Before, it was not the time. The events of your life were preparing you, even the most painful ones, especially the most painful ones, for this awakening. Everything you lived was not in vain. It was the labor of the consciousness that is being born now, inside you, at this moment. Honor this consciousness. Welcome this new being that is emerging. Do not be frightened if in the coming days you feel the urge to cry for no reason, or if some friendships begin to seem distant, or if you feel an urgent need to change things that previously seemed immutable. It is the birth. It is natural. It is beautiful. It is sacred. I want to end this conversation with you by talking about the most important thing of all, the one that will define if everything you heard will turn into transformation or will turn into just another video forgotten in your memory. You need to understand, at the most intimate level of your being, that you are not separated from the source. This separation is the greatest illusion of human consciousness. You are a wave in the divine ocean, and the wave is never separated from the ocean, even when it thinks it is just a wave. The I am that you feel when you say your own name is the same I am that Moses heard in the burning bush. There are not two. There is only one, expressing itself in billions of forms, and one of these forms is you. And when you consciously assume this truth and begin to speak to yourself from this place, everything changes. Everything. Your appearance changes, because the electromagnetic field of the heart reorganizes the cells of your body. Your circumstances change, because the bridge of incidents begins to be built from a feeling of fullness, no longer of lack. The people around you change, because they begin to react to the new frequency you are emitting. And those who cannot rise along will naturally drift away, making room for the souls who vibrate in your new reality. Do not be afraid of the people who will leave your life. They were anchored in your old state. When you change the state, the scenery changes. It is law. And do not be afraid of the new people who will arrive. They are materialized answers to your new assumptions. They come bringing the opportunities, the resources, the hugs, the guidance you need to sustain your new life. Receive them all with gratitude. Honor each encounter. Because everything, absolutely everything, is God revealing himself to you through the mirror of the world. And when the night comes and the silence settles, and you are lying in your bed before closing your eyes, remember this conversation. Remember that the face of your greatest enemy is also the face of your greatest ally, depending on which story you decide to tell yourself. Remember that feeling is the secret. Remember that persistence is the path. Remember that the fourth dimension is waiting for you to receive the new order. And remember, mainly, that God, this God who lives within you, has never failed, never fails, and will never fail. The delay is not his, it never was. The delay is of the consciousness that has not yet assumed. Today you were reached by a message that did not reach you by chance. The algorithms, the times, the recommendations, all of this is just the material veil of a spiritual orchestration that began long before you were born. There is a reason for you to be hearing this precisely now, in this period of your life, in this exact moment of fatigue, on this threshold between giving up and being reborn. And this reason is simple. Your turn has come. Your time has come. Your time to stop asking and start assuming, to stop begging and start decreeing, to stop waiting and start being. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. Como saber se Deus vai te salvar no juízo final is the map that will guide you when your memory fails, when fear returns to whisper, when old habits try to pull you back. It is palpable, it is yours, it is eternal. The link is pinned to the top of the comments and in the description of this video. Grab it now, before this content is removed, before the window closes, before life distracts you again with 1,000 other worries. You know deep down that this call is real. Do not waste it. Comment a mem down here, give your like as a decree of acceptance, subscribe to the channel like someone sealing a pact with their own soul, and share it with that person you know needs to hear these words. The I am that lives in you recognizes the I am that lives in me, and together in this frequency we are unstoppable. So be it, and so it already is.